India is pushing back against President Donald Trump's claims about Russian oil purchases. On Wednesday, much to the shock of the world, Donald Trump declared that Prime Minister Modi had assured him that New Delhi would stop buying Russian oil. But India clarified that no conversation took place between the two leaders yesterday. Listen to this first.
On the question of whether there was a conversation or a telephone call between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, I am not aware of any conversation yesterday between the two leaders.
The Ministry of External Affairs stressed that India's energy policies are guided solely by the interests of Indian consumers, even amid a volatile global energy scenario. So, where exactly did Donald Trump's statement come from, and what motivated him to unilaterally make that announcement in a way? And just to understand Trump's decision to make such a statement, you need to see the motivation behind it. Donald Trump considers himself a deal maker, whether it's his rare diplomatic wins in Gaza or the global conflicts he claims to have resolved. Donald Trump has always prided himself as a deal maker, as a peacemaker, as a master negotiator. But there is one peace deal that continues to elude him. That's, of course, the Russia-Ukraine war. During his election campaign, he promised to end the Ukraine war within 24 hours of taking office. Well, it's been beyond that clearly. 10 months on, and frustrated by the stalled talks, Donald Trump is now trying to channel that frustration, it seems, elsewhere, pressuring India and China, countries that are not parties to the conflict in Ukraine. After imposing punitive measures on India with a widely unjustified 50% tariff, Trump declared on Wednesday that New Delhi will stop using Russian oil, a move that he hopes would squeeze the Kremlin's access to petrodollars. In fact, he, like everyone else in the West, it seems, believes that curbing Russia's ability to export energy to the world, the war in Ukraine can be somewhat put to a pause because of that. But it hasn't really happened yet. The sweeping sanctions on Russia failed to make a dent in Russia's war machinery. And Trump, despite those efforts to bring both Putin and Zelensky to the talking table, has not seen any progress. And so he is putting his frustration elsewhere, it seems. But now, with India debunking Trump's claims, the lens is back on Washington and how it will respond to that clarification coming in from New Delhi. Since the war started, Western powers led by America have repeatedly criticized India for buying Russian oil. Still, India has remained firm in its stance, offering help as far as the peace efforts are concerned, but drawing the line as far as oil sovereignty is concerned. India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has consistently emphasized that New Delhi is focused on securing the best deal for its citizens and has pointed out the double standards of the West. India has prioritized energy security, sourcing from the most cost-effective suppliers. It has gone from importing almost no Russian oil before the war to becoming one of Moscow's top buyers, a role that has made Washington angry. Russia, meanwhile, has expressed confidence that its energy partnership with India will continue. But Trump's foreign policy approach of using threats and trade measures, it seems, to pressure countries is on display once again. Frustrated by his inability to end the Ukraine war, he has increasingly described the Russian president as the main obstacle to resolution. And for now, all eyes are on the Trump-Zelensky meeting scheduled to take place on Friday. The Eiffel Tower is facing an acute financial crisis, if you're wondering what this is about. The Paris City Council that owns the monument has increased ticket prices by nearly 18% since last year, and now another hike could be on the way. As new reports reveal, the structure is sinking deeper into debt. A report by France's top audit office, the Court of Accounts, shows the Eiffel Tower lost about 8.5 million euros last year, and by 2031, that deficit is expected to climb to 31 million euros. Auditors are saying management severely underestimated the cost of maintaining the monument. The tower, which is made up of 180,000 metal pieces held together by 2.5 million bolts, keeping it in shape is proving far costlier than what was expected. Just for context here, the company that operates the monument is struggling to recover from the massive revenue losses during the COVID-19 lockdowns, which wiped out around 149 million euros reportedly. But according to the French auditors, poor financial decisions have reportedly deepened the trouble. The auditors claim that back in 2018, repainting the tower for the 20th time since its opening in 1889 was expected to cost around 50 million euros. And what was the final cost? Nearly 142 million euros, nearly 3 times the estimated amount. A lift renovation also overshot its budget reportedly by nearly 2 times, from 32 million to 58 million euros. Officials once hoped to offset the rising expenses by welcoming more tourists, around 7.4 million visitors by 2031 compared to 6.3 million last year. But growing opposition to mass tourism in Paris has reportedly forced them to lower the expectations. The new goal is 6.6 million visitors over the next 6 years. For now, it seems that higher ticket prices may be the main fix, but then with expenses piling up, the Eiffel Tower's financial climb looks steeper than ever. A bold accusation from Moscow today. Russia's top security chief has claimed that the UK is secretly directing Ukrainian strikes on Russian energy lifelines. The FSB director alleged that British intelligence, including the SAS and MI6, have been orchestrating attacks on pipelines, oil assets, and even planning cross-border raids. From the Caspian Pipeline Consortium to the Turk Stream gas network. Bortnikov says London's fingerprints are just about everywhere, escalating what has become the new normal in Europe versus Russia's war of words, alongside the war on the ground, of course. And according to Bortnikov, British and Ukrainian operatives are also planning acts of sabotage against the Turk Stream gas pipeline, which was launched in 2020 to supply Russian natural gas to consumers in Turkey and several southern European nations. He also alleged that British commandos and intelligence officers have been involved in planning Ukrainian cross-border raids and drone strikes inside Russia. Not just that, the FSB chief claimed that Operation Spiderweb, in which drones were deployed from disguised compartments in trucks to strike Russian airfields this summer, was devised under British direction. Bortnikov also accused the UK of authorizing Ukrainian targeted assassinations inside Russia. The statements were part of a speech in which the Russian official described London's leading role in shaping the West's anti-Russia policies in an effort to maintain global influence amid the declining power. On the ground, meanwhile, the fighting has only intensified. On Wednesday, Russia said that its forces continued their offensives against the Ukrainian army in Sumy, Kharkiv and Donetsk, while Ukraine on the same day reported striking Russian military targets. The Russian forces reportedly destroyed Ukrainian armored vehicles, air defense systems, electronic warfare base stations and ammunition depots, and attacked energy facilities that support the operation of the Ukrainian military-industrial enterprises. Strikes were also launched on Ukraine's military transportation infrastructure and long-range drone storage points. Ukraine has said that its forces attacked key targets, including concentration areas of Russian personnel, drone control points, and air defense facilities, and destroyed Russian tanks, artillery systems, air defense systems, tactical drones. The Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman has said that Ukraine made it no secret of its preparations for, in their words, a terrorist attack against Russia. In fact, she claimed that Ukraine's new action plan included consideration of using the American Tomahawk missiles, and she accused the European Union of instigating the US to provide Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine, which showed that the EU had no intention of promoting peace. So, with threats and attacks escalating, is there no scope for peace here? Not exactly. On the same day, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said Putin is open to negotiations on the Ukrainian issue and is willing to resolve the Ukrainian issue through political and diplomatic means. But then one of the key current obstacles here is the rise in aerial attacks. Add to that US President Donald Trump's threat to arm Ukraine with tomahawks. For Russia, that would be crossing the red line. The Russian foreign minister, meanwhile, has said that providing tomahawk missiles for Ukraine will cause great damage to the normalization of the Russia-US relationship and herald the most dangerous tensions. Lavrov expressed hope that the US would recognize all the risks.